Welcome back to the Dirty Shop. Today I'm working on another project. You can hear my machine running in the background there, but what I'm cutting on the machine is wood. And it's a plywood, bamboo plywood, and it's creating a lot of dust. And I've got a dust collector over there doing some work, but it is just not doing this job, and this whole shop is full of dust. I've got all the doors open, fans blowing, trying to keep it clear. But what I really need is a dust collector. And because I'm a cheapskate and I don't want to waste time going to get one and buy one because they're kind of pricey, I'm going to build myself one. So I'm hoping to do this on the cheap with things that I already basically have, besides the filters. I may have to buy out the little bits, but the filter plate. So what I'm planning on using for my filters are these air conditioner filters like this one. And I've got two of these 20-inch ones of the 3 micron filters, so they're a lot finer than a regular dust collector. And I've got one of these coarser filters to be the initial filter. And I'm going to build a box to go on top of this 55-gallon drum, and this drum will be the collection bin for the dust collector, and the inlets will go into this drum. And on top I'm going to build a box out of this plywood that I have. This is just waste plywood from other jobs or whatever happened to be. These are old signs actually from a friend of mine. But I'm going to try and do this with stuff that I already have on hand. And I've got this big squirrel cage fan up here. A squirrel cage fan is not the best thing for a dust collector because it's a high volume and a lower pressure, and what's nice for dust collector is to have both high volume and high pressure. But this one's pretty decent, and I should be able to make a dust collector out of it so long as I keep my filter surface pretty big. So that's why I'm using 2 of these for the filter, so I have more surface area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these boards and create a box that sits on top of here. It will hold the filters and hold the fan, and it'll just sit on top of the drum. And so I'm going to go back and I cut all these parts out, and then I'll show you what I've got. I don't think you guys are really that interested in watching me cut plywood. So I'm going to cut all my parts out and show you what I've done so that anybody else can copy this design. I'll give you all the dimensions and everything that I'm using.
Warning, this video may contain scenes of extreme untidiness. Viewer discretion is advised.
But I need to cut a circle in this for this bottom piece. It could be a square. I mean, my thing's square, but I want to maximize my intake area here. And in order to cut a circle in the middle of this part, I'm going to use a string and a screw and a pencil. So I've marked the very center of my board, and this one's 24 by 24. This size of this box might vary depending on the size filter you want to use and the size fan you get. But I'm going to take this screw and I'm going to put it right in the middle. Okay. And then I've tied a loop in my string. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a loop. And I put that over the screw. And now I can go around and around on my circle. Bring it to where I want it. And then tie my string off so it doesn't move much. And then draw my circle. And it's not going to be perfect, but it'll give you a circle like so that you can just do a quick circle. You could, of course, use a frame or a lid or something to draw a circle that way too. But this works pretty good. So now I got my circle, I'm going to cut it out with a jigsaw. Okay, now we can start putting this thing together. I've taken one of my 24 by 24 boards and I've cut a square in it that is about 19 by 19 because the filters are 20 by 20 the outside. So I've got 19 by 19, and this is where the filter will come up against this. So I need my 2 spacer boards. They're 1 inch thick. These are 1 inch thick here. Except these 2 by 4 I cut down, so it's 24 inches by 1.5 inches by 1 inch. And those are going to go like that on either side of my filter, and that way my filter has a surface to push up against. And then this last one is about 20 1/8, and that'll go right there. And then I'm going to pull, I could be able to change my filters by pulling them out this way and putting them in this way. Okay, here it is, the bottom of the box right here. It's basically done. And what's going to happen here is there's a space in here, and then your filter will fit right inside of here. neighbor's riding by with a Harley. So the filter fits right inside of there. Okay, and then the air is going to drop through it. Now, I'm a little worried about this getting pulled through by the fan's pressure, so I'm going to stretch a couple of wires across here like this and just screw them down. So there you go, you can see that the wires are crossed there. That'll just hold that in there, kind of like a grate. That way if it blows up, it'll just hold up against those wires, keep it in there. Okay, there we go. Now the fan can go in this box, and these will go, when I'm done, go right here and on the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to make some tracks for my filters to go into on the top. I would have loved to have used 24-inch wide filters. I went back to the hardware store to look for some 20 by 24 filters. They didn't have any, so I'm still using the 20s. But I'm going to take these 2x4s. I've got a couple of them here that I've cut to 19 1/4. I got 4 of them, and I'm going to cut them, and then I'm going to cut a slot down the center of them. And now that I've got a couple boards cut to the width I want, I need slots in these that are at least a ½ inch deep. I'm going to go a little deeper. And if you had a dado blade, it'd be great. You can cut an inch wide slot. A dado blade is a tool for cutting slots in wood that's wider than this standard blade width. But instead, I'm just going to run my blade and then move it over and then run it again. It's kind of a slow way, or I can stick them on the mill and mill them, but for now I'm going to just try it this way. There you go. That's how you slot on a table saw. And this fits nicely in that slot. Hopefully that'll work. We're going to go and install it. All right, I got my slotted boards here. Now hopefully my measurements are correct. This should go right here. And right there. And that's right. It just does appear though that I slotted one of the wrong pieces though. This one's a little short, so I'll have to go back and slot another one. A couple more boards here. They're about 19 by an inch. Just 2x4 cutoffs are left over from this. And they're going to fit right here to back up the bottom. And I'm not going to put a support to the top. You can see this one attached over here. Alright, test run here. That seems to be working. I just need to get my sides on. I'm good. Yes! I don't know why I didn't start that way. Sweet. The way this works is that the incoming air and dust comes in here, right? It's all coming in this way. Okay, and then there's a wooden baffle in the box, and you'll see that in a minute, about that I installed here to keep the dust down in the bottom of the bin. And the air swirls in the bin, which keeps all the dust particles out around the outside, kind of like a cyclone filter without the funnel part, and then it kind of builds up here in the bottom. Okay, the cleaner air and comes up through here, and the first filter is right here. Okay, so the clean air goes up through this filter and is diverted to the sides. Then it comes around and goes this way out here, and then the second set of filters are here. Okay, and these are the fine grain filters here, so the air goes through those, and then the blower is in here. That's supposed to be a blower. The blower's in there, and it blows that that cleaner air back out into the room, and it generally works pretty well. And I could take all the filters out to clean them, and I can also lift the top off the bin and dump the bin out or whatever I want to do. So that's how the thing works, in case somebody was wondering the design concept behind this this dust collector. All right, so yesterday I installed this, and then all the video for installing it disappeared. So it is now installed next to my machine. I did get a chance to test it, so I can tell you that it does collect dust very well, which is nice. But the interior of this bin tends to swirl a lot and keep all the dust and chips that it gets in there in motion. I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to be keeping them in motion, because then they end up built up against the base screen. So I don't have a cyclone. I don't have the ability to build a cyclone filter. If you can look those up to see how they work, but they're pretty cool. And so what I've done instead is I built this disc. It's got a hole in the center and then the edges, and that way, down there, and that way that if it swirls on the inside, it doesn't matter. So it can swirl around in there all at once, and it'll keep those chips against the outside, and the inside will stay clear and hopefully work better. I've also installed this block and tackle on top, you can see there, so that I can lift it up and change my pads and move my bucket around and all that, which is nice. And then the intake line is here. It's just some of that culvert, that 5-inch culvert. It does tend to make a little bit of a humming noise as the air goes through it, so that could be interesting. I might have to change something, but I'm going to reinstall this together, and we'll see how it works with the new addition of the plate in there. It's all installed here. You can see I've got the block and tackle on the top to lift it up and down really easily. I could change my filters nicely. You can see here, this is from running it the other day. Obviously it collected a bunch of dust already, which is perfect. And I've got the vent blowing back there. I do need to add a second intake line or more, because one little 5-inch intake is not going to be enough to do the job. But I'll show you how it operates. So I can turn it on here. You can hear it coming in. Okay, so the line comes out there, and then it comes into the interior of my chamber, and you can see from how it will pull chips into it that it's quite effective. It's got a lot of air pressure there. So there it is. It's not the most beautiful build I've ever done, and I said I was going to do some plans for it to put up there, but you can see how it functions, and everybody's going to probably have different parts to build it with anyways, and it's uglier than I wanted. So I'm not necessarily going to put up the plans for it, but hopefully you get the idea. It's basically just a 24-inch by 24-inch box with a box fan in it and filters. So you can see from the earlier sketch of the flow of the air through it, how it works, and that should be about it for this build. So as usual, hit that like and subscribe button. I've got a bunch more cool videos coming up. It's pretty quiet, but it's still noise in the background. I got some other cool videos coming up in the future, and hopefully you guys will hit those subscribe buttons and keep it rolling. See you next time on The Dirty Shop.